Hello everyone. In last lecture, I discussed the topic ecological hierarchy or the ecological levels of organizations and the functional role of each level of organizations. Today, I am going to talk about the concept of ecosystem and the components of ecosystem. We know that in an ecological hierarchy, there is the organisms, then populations, then community, then ecosystem, landscape, biome, and the biosphere. So these are the different level of that. The ecosystem, which is one of the most important one. So let's discuss or let's start with the concept of ecosystem. So the term ecosystem, also called as ecological system, and this term ecosystem was coined by British ecologist Sir Arthur G. Tansley in 1935. So let's talk about some definitions of ecosystem. So according to E.P. Odom, the ecosystem is the basic functional unit of organisms and their environment interacting with each other and with their own components. Next definition, which is given by the Woodbury, and according to the Woodbury, ecosystem is a complex in which habitat, plants and animals are considered as one interesting unit. The materials and energy of one passing in and out of the other. So that definition is given by the Woodbury. Woodbury says that ecosystem is a complex in which habitat, plants and animals are considered as one interesting unit, and the materials and the energy passes from one into the pass in and out from the one to the others. So that is called as the ecosystem according to the Woodbury. Then according to the Clark, the organisms and the physical features of the habitat from an ecological complex, or more briefly, which is called as ecosystem. Clark says that the organisms and the physical features of the habitat form an ecological complex, or which may also called as the ecosystem. So the term ecosystem refers to the sum total of physical and biological factors operating in any given area, and hence ecosystem can be looked upon as the basic functional unit in a ecology. So an ecosystem may be defined as a dynamic system which includes both biotic component, that is living organisms, and abiotic component or abiotic environment influencing the properties of each other. This biotic component and abiotic component, they influence the properties of each other, and both are necessary for the maintenance of life. So these are the some definitions of ecosystem. According to Odom, the ecosystem is the first unit in the ecological hierarchy, which is a complete and has all the components necessary for survival, and it is the basic unit around which to organize both theory and practice in ecology. So that's why it is considered as the functional unit of ecology. So thus ecosystem is the major ecological unit. Thus an ecosystem may be conceived and studied in the habitats of various sizes. For example, 1 square meter of a grassland, that is also called as an ecosystem, a pool, a large lake, a large tract of the forest, a balanced aquarium, a certain area of a river, and an ocean. So that all are called as the ecosystem, or these are the examples of the ecosystem. So all the ecosystems of the earth, they are connected to one another. For example, river ecosystem is connected with the ecosystem of the ocean, and a small ecosystem of a dead logs is a part of the large ecosystem of the forest. So thus all the ecosystem, they are connected with each other. So this is in general about the concept of ecosystem. Now let's start the next topic, that is component of ecosystem. So the components of ecosystems can be divided into two major components. Biotic is the living component and abiotic means the non-living one. So let's try to understand what is biotic component. So the living organism present in an ecosystem form the biotic component. They are classified into two main categories. First one is producers and the second one is the consumer. So what do you mean by that producer? Producers, they are also called as the autotrophs, that is self-feeder. They can make the organic nutrients by using the simple inorganic compound present in their environment. For example, the green plants on the land and the algae in an aquatic ecosystem produces their food by the process of photosynthesis, and that's why they are called as the producers, or they are also called as the autotrophs. Next to autotrophs is the consumer. So consumers are also called as heterotroph, that is other feeders. These are the organisms which directly or indirectly depend on food provided by producers. Consumers, depending on their food habits, can be further classified into four types. Which are these four types? First one is the herbivores, second one is the carnivores, third one is the omnivores, and the fourth one is the decomposers. So let's discuss in detail about this. So first one is the herbivores. So herbivores are the plant eaters and they feed directly on the producers. In a food chain, they are referred to as primary consumer. For example, deer, rabbits, cattle. So these are the primary consumers, or these are also called as the herbivores. Then the second group is called as the carnivores. So carnivores are the meat eaters and they feed on the herbivores, or they feed on the primary consumers. So they are thus known as the secondary consumer. For example, lion, tiger. So these are the secondary consumer. Then the third group of the consumer is called as the omnivores. So omnivores eat both plants and the animals. For example, the birds, rats, and human beings. So these are the examples of the omnivores. Then the fourth group of the consumer is called as the decomposer. So decomposer digests the complex organic molecules in a dead organic matter from the dead organic matter into a simple inorganic compound. Decomposers digest the complex organic molecules from the dead organic matter into simpler inorganic compounds. Decomposers absorb the soluble nutrient as their food. Example of the decomposers are the bacteria, fungi, mites. In decomposer, which are primarily bacteria, fungi, nematodes like the tapeworm, mites, and certain insects, are organisms that feed by degrading organic matter. They degrade the organic matter and they are essential components of all nutrient cycles and food chain. Decomposers breaks down the organic waste and recycle the nutrient present in it. So thus they are responsible for the recycling the nutrients from the dead material or decaying material. So what is important to note is that each ecosystem will have certain representative organism playing its specific role. Then the next component of the ecosystem is the abiotic component, or which may also called as the non-living component. So non-living or abiotic components of an ecosystem includes all the physical and chemical factors that influence living organism like air, water, soil, rocks. These are the some example of non-living or abiotic component. Thus, non-living component is an assemblage of organic and inorganic substances present in ecosystem. The various climatic factors that affects the ecosystem functionings are also a part of this non-living component. Then the non-living components are essential for living worlds. For example, without sunlight, water, air, and minerals, life cannot exist. Some example of the non-living components of ecosystems include physical factors and chemical factors. So physical factors like sunlight, temperature, precipitation, nature of soil, fire, water. These are the some physical factors which grouped under the which are the non-living component which group under the physical factor. And chemical factors, example of the chemical factors are the percentage of water and air in a soil, then salinity of water, oxygen dissolved in water, nutrient present in the soil. So these are the some chemical factors, or these are the non-living component grouped under the chemical factors. So thus today we studied about the concept of ecosystem and components of ecosystem. So if you have any doubt, you can write it in a comment box. Thank you.